And then you say
Okay.
ऊvagut Margaret Nuxan Elias. Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Nuxana Elias. Welcome to the {NU}NANINIK Show. On today's episode, we have two guests. We have our guests, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Yeah, ऊvagut alatkashik, ऊvagut shulagaluk. My name is Jerry Kassoon, from Inuit Northwest Territories. Good afternoon.
Naini, ऊvagut guluk, Nugaluk, Steve Cockney Sr. Glad to be here for this interview with the Northern Games that we're going to be talking about.
Thank you guys for coming on the show. So both of our guests are returning guests. They've both been on the show on separate occasions. And when we were talking about doing possible shows in this new segment, I believe it was you, Goluk, that had the idea that both of you could be on and we can discuss the Northern Games, the history of it and the importance of it. And yeah, so I'm just gonna, the way I start every single show, I'm just gonna ask you to introduce yourself the same way that we would introduce ourselves to our elders. So who you are, where you're from, a little bit of your family, if you guys can just take turns each, and we could just get a better sense of exactly how we talk to our elders. Yeah, so if you want to start first, go.
Okay, I was born in area around Tuktoyakta, place called {NU}ppatuq. It's about 10-15 kilometers on the coast side, west side of Tuk. And I was born and raised in the community where culture was a big thing at that time. It was we had the town not securely. A lot of people there would stay mostly around the point, north side of Tuk. That's where most of the people were living, and there was nobody on the south side except for government administration, Hudson Bay, a hospital, nursing station. And back then, when we started progressing into becoming a community, a lot of our elders there, they used to find odd jobs there because jobs started coming up, and most of the jobs that were there were labor work. There was nothing really, nobody really had the experience of doing office work or anything like that, but it's mostly labor work. And all our elders there, they seem to be working all the time, and including their lifestyle of living off the land, and doing whatever families do to progress in a better lifestyle in Tuk. But as time went on, we got into a community where a lot of administration had come in. We had a DO line that came in early, quite early to Tuck, and then eventually oil companies came in. And that's where we progressed from. We became a community where all people that were living around the coast had come to Tuck area and lived around that area. And then eventually we became a community where everything started building up, and then we just carried on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fun growing up there.
Yeah. So Golok and I are both from the same community from Tuck, Dukreaktuk. Yeah, so we have that in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our elders there, they lived there most all their life. Like after getting out of the coast, they went into the community and made a living there. You know, they just continued living there, and they made their families. The families that were there,
Yeah.
they made a living in Tuck. Whether it was through jobs or off the land. That
Off
was,
the land.
yeah, that is two things that really grew in our community, and people took that. The Inuit took that and lived off of it,
Yeah.
off jobs and living off the land.
Can I ask you to tell us who your family is?
My family, yeah, my father is Amos Cockney, my mother Betty Cockney. I know my dad was born in Reed Island, just north of, it's between Polituck and Kugluktuk, I believe. It's north of that. And my mother was born in Kugluktuk. And I guess my dad had gone to the community there, and she tied up with my mother, and I believe they got married in Kugluktuk. I know my mother was saying she was a very young girl there, about 14 years old when she got married. And then right after they got married, they left Kugluktuk and moved to, traveled along the coast all the way to Tuck side area. And that's where my dad made his living, just trap line and hunting basically off the land. He made a living there. We stayed along the coast sometimes when I was young, and then we eventually moved to Tuck, and got a family there. He born 7 of us. There's 3 brothers, 3 sisters. 3 of them are older than me, 3 of them are younger than me, so it's right smack in the middle. But yeah, it is. We started building homes around Tuck area. There was a lot of driftwood along the coast. Tuck was very lucky at that time to have all that driftwood along the coast, because that's where all the guys, all the men there, they'd get their logs from there, and they'd bring it into the community and build log houses.
Yeah.
And that's how we made our living. Just our fathers there, uncles and grandfathers say they built houses, log houses,
Yeah.
and that's where we had our shelter, in the log house.
Yeah.
And eventually, when we started growing, the community started growing. People started coming in from the south, and better living was starting to come around. Easier life at that time, but still it was kind of hard because we still had to live off the land and get the food off the land, because basically there was not too much at Hudson Bay that we had. We had the essentials that we needed, but in order to make a living, we had, and our community was growing, so in order to make a living, our parents had to get a job and work there just to support the families. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to move over to Jerry now.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Jerry Kissoon. I'm from Inuvik, Northwest Territories. My father was Victor Allen, Ùvagut from the Mackenzie Delta, born up in Letty Harbour, north of Polita. And my mother, Vantat Quichin out of Old Crow, Yukon. Her name was Bertha Allen, nee Moses. And she was born in Old Crow, Yukon. And we come from an Inuit, Quichin, Swedish background.
Yeah.
My mother's grandfather was a fellow by the name of Peter Norberg, coming out of Sweden. And I believe he actually came up to Yukon, traveling the world, I guess, like very many other ones, looking for the gold. And he didn't find the gold in the Yukon, but he found my great-grandmother. And out of that relationship, there was 3 children, and my grandmother, Caroline, was the youngest of those 3. And my grandmother raised her family in Old Crow and Aklavik. And that's where my parents met, in Aklavik. They were both going to the residential school there. And after they got married, they ended up out in the Mackenzie Delta, actually 60 kilometers northwest of Aklavik, at a place called ùvagut in that part of the world. ùvagut in Inuit, like to see from a long distance. And that's where I was born at the end of February, 70 years ago. And my mother walked a long ways, 12 miles, packing me, ready to have a baby, pulling my brother on a snowshoe at the back, because my father and Uncle Joe were over there at 500 Lake Creek, setting up the tent frame to go trapping muskrats, starting today. Yeah, so my mother walked that way, that far. And,
Quite a ways.
Quite a ways, yeah. And my dad put her in a toboggan.
Oh.
And drove the dogs like hell across the rest of the Delta to his grandfather's camp, and that's where I was born.
Oh my
My
goodness.
great-grandfather's camp, like Kuluk was talking about, log house. Yeah, it was a log house and a mud floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I was born and raised for the first couple of years of my life.
Tough woman.
And then you're a tough woman in them days.
Yeah.
All the mothers are tough. By golly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, we eventually moved into this community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my father was helping to build Inuvik, East 3,
Yeah.
eventually Inuvik. And
Yeah.
this is where we are today.
What does Inuvik stand for again?
Inuvik,
Inuvik.
place of man.
Place of man.
place of
Inuvik, I
people.
believe that Inuvik, Inuvik, eh?
Inuvik.
Yeah, Inuvik,
Inuvik.
place of the people.
Yeah, place for the
Yeah,
people.
more for the place of the people.
Inu.
Inuvik,
Yeah.
yeah.
Inu
Yeah.
is person, huh?
Inuit, yeah.
Inuit.
Inuk is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Inuit is 2 or more.
I'm just trying to think of how
And
it
the
became
Inuvik
Inuvik.
place.
Yeah.
And when they had to write it down on paper, it became Inuvik.
Inuvik,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how
Inuvik.
little bit
everybody
easier.
say it.
Yeah.
I think a little bit easier to say.
Yeah.
For some people,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 So we're here today to discuss an important event, I'm going to call it. Is
It's a
it
very
event?
important event,
It's
yes.
So we're going to talk about the Northern Games and Arctic Sports. Yeah. So it's my understanding that both of you have been involved in this. I don't know what to call it. If it's an event, I know that it's games. I know that it's a sport. But you guys have been involved in it for quite a while now.
Yeah, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
It was called right from the beginning Northern Games.
Northern Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we don't really feel comfortable in calling it Arctic Sports because
Yeah.
it's only one event.
Yeah.
Northern Games, when we got started, it wasn't just about tradition or Arctic sports itself, like the games we have in the gym. We had Northern Games. It consists of our games, the traditional games, which is the tea boiling, fish cutting, and the traditional games. And then there's the drum dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those tied together.
Okay.
It's that's why we call it Northern Games. It's not it's not a competition
thing.
where
Yeah.
you go against each other in a gymnasium or anything.
Yeah.
It's where everybody was involved then. Everybody
Yeah.
from our communities. We brought people from our region, from the 7 communities, and we got people from Alaska and from the Eastern Arctic. At that time, it used to be just an NWT, and we brought them all here to Inuvic, and the first 3 Northern Games that we had here in Inuvic. Yeah, and it grew. Like,
Do you remember
it
what
was,
year it was?
It was 1968.
Yeah,
And,
the first one.
Yeah, first one.
And the first couple.
Yeah.
And then
We were here for 3 years,
Yeah.
for 3 summers for the Northern Games, and then we started traveling around in other communities to do that event. But when we first got started, it was something new to everyone. Like our games, they dated way back hundreds of years ago, but it wasn't competition. It was just something to do during the evening or during the long nights. You know, it wasn't like
The
they're
winter
competing
solstice.
against each other. It's
Yeah.
just for a fun thing. And that's how we carry it on today. It's a tradition that we like to carry, not as a competition, but to have people get involved with the games itself. And, you know, during competition, we do compete against other people, but what our games is quite unique in that we encourage the other
Yeah.
communities to do better. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's been like that. I know Edward had brought it up when we first started Northern Games. He brought the communities in, and we were playing against each other. And Edward was there he was sort of like the head coach of everything.
I was just going to say, can you, Edward's passed down, but can we just say who he is?
Yeah, Edward Lenny is better known as the father of Northern Games.
Yeah.
He's the one that got started with
He got us all started with the games back in the mid-60s.
Yeah.
Huh?
I remember when he
yeah.
came down to Tuck with the boys. Edward brought a whole bunch of boys down to Tuck to showcase the games to us. And it just so happened that we were around there, and we were wondering what was going on. So we went, out of curiosity, we went to go check it out, and they were playing games here. And, oh wow, that's something really new to us, you know. And we got right into it. We just fit right into it. And he was coaching us all, you know. He wasn't favoring his team or other teammates. He was coaching everybody.
Yeah.
And when we do have competition, like I remember when we first competed here, it wasn't like he was coaching only a Inuvic team. Like when if somebody's having a hard time from the other communities, Edward would go up to that person and, you know, just sort of gear him into, straighten him out on how to do the games itself, and, you know, just encouraging them. And he was a mentor for all of us, for everyone. And it wasn't only in the games itself, you know, he got into traditional games, and he organized the games with the community that he had at that time. And it just sort of grew from there.
Yeah.
And now, well, prior to Arctic Winter Games, we did our own thing here in the north. And when the Arctic Winter Games came along, they invited us in to do the games as a as a demonstration the first time. And then we got into competition. They put the northern games, the traditional games, into Arctic Winter Games, and it was very quiet at the beginning. Like when we were competing, we travel out to Whitehorse or Yellowknife or Alaska. You know, it was like we competed, but it wasn't like we're trying to better ourselves for our own community, just to better our own self, to make ourselves better. And that is coming from Edward. He was a guy that really pushed that, because you know, it wasn't like any other sporting events where you want to win and you want to compete and you want to win, and you know, it wasn't like that with Northern Games.
Yeah.
He made sure that everybody was having fun. Everybody having fun at the games.
And was a part of it.
Yeah.
The part of the games. And the early days of our games, I believe they might have called it Eskimo games.
Yeah, Eskimo games.
To start with,
Yeah.
because we wanted to try to get into, at the time, the Arctic Winter Games were going on. But we were doing our own thing right here in the Delta. If not in Inuvik, then we were in Tuk. And a few years later, they went to like a Klavik, Fort McPherson, Fort Good Hope, I think. I was here for a couple in Holman. I went to Fort McPherson one time in Tuk. And we played those games, and we started with sort of like Eskimo games. Eventually they went to Northern Games. How they got to Northern Games, we're really not too sure. But all of a sudden, the Arctic Winter Games were coming up. And some of our leaders in our community, Edward, Nellie, Reverend Dietrich, Billy Day and them, Emmanuel, and Felix, and so on, they got a Piluluk in them. I think they got a hold of those people that are doing the Arctic Winter Games at the time, was starting in Whitehorse, in Yellowknife. And said, what's so Arctic about badminton?
Yeah.
What's so Arctic about basketball? Why aren't these?
That.
Why aren't these traditional games in there? Our Eskimo games. Why aren't they there? So we ended up there in Yellowknife, demonstrating in 1970. First Arctic Winter Games.
Wow.
And I remember that one time, even the Prime Minister of the day wasn't Justin. I think it was
Pierre.
Justin Senior or something. Or
Pierre
Pierre was his name. Pierre was his name. But he was the Prime Minister, and Edward and the boys did a demonstration at that arena. They just put plywood on the floor. They're doing 1 foot high kick, Mickey and them. And Glenn and Buck and them were doing strength games. William Day. They were doing all those games. We were part of it too, but I was also playing volleyball. So whenever I had a break for volleyball, I'd go and help out or go and be a part of that. But the Prime Minister was going to go and catch his airplane.
Yeah.
And he liked it so much that he said, just hang on, I want to go back one more time to go and watch those kids.
Yeah.
Those Eskimo kids or whoever we were from the Western Arctic. And he went back and called everybody back. Edward brought the boys back out. They did one more demonstration. We were there in the door at the Arctic Winter Games.
That's cool.
That was 1970. 1972, Edward took us all, a bunch of us, to Whitehorse, Yukon, demonstrating one more time. And I think it was still Northern Games.
And
And we never did Arctic sports or Inuit games
like
till
Arctic sports.
later on. And then 1974, we went to Fairbanks, Alaska.
Fairbanks,
One more time demonstrating Northern Games. And from there, 1976, you guys went to Shefferville, Quebec.
Shefferville, Quebec,
That was the first set of games that were held with the competition.
Wow.
And a lot of our games, it's not about beating each other.
Yeah.
It's about helping helping each one of them try to do the best that they could. Now, it's not, we don't judge them to say, you better get up to 9 feet 6 or something, you know. No, you go as far as you can. It's up to you. It's
Yeah.
not up to us. And the first set of games, like Kuluk was talking about, is we had everybody involved. We had the tea boiling, the seal skinning, the duck plucking, the fish cutting, everybody.
Did they do social ones too?
Pardon me?
Like the social laughing games?
That was a little bit later, I think.
Yeah,
They
those
came in.
social games, yeah, they came in later on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We had muskrat skinning. We had all kinds of stuff. Tea boiling. We had all that right there,
Yeah.
just down the road over there.
Yeah.
And this year we're hoping to have a
Include
big
more.
one more big set of games.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll turn out to be a circumpolar northern games and
Yeah.
get other communities east and maybe Alaska
Yeah.
and so on involved and come and visit us.
So
And-
I'm gonna say, because we didn't talk about it on the show, but this year, this summer, in Inuvik and in Tuk, or is
Yes.
it only in Tuk?
The youth will be in Tuk.
The youth will be in Tuk, so
Yeah,
it will be both in
yeah,
Inuvik
they're
and
doing a
in
program there for they'll be competing
the
with the youth in Tuk.
circumpolar northern
Yeah,
games.
Yeah,
we're
and
looking
then-
at us. Yeah.
And then once we're done in Tuk, we're coming here for the
Oh.
circumpolar. Yeah.
We're looking at July 21,
Yeah.
that weekend, to start on that Friday night,
Yeah.
finish off Sunday, hopefully in Tuk.
Yeah.
If not, maybe we'll go to Monday for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to be, we're here for the kids, for the youth. Yeah, and then the rest of the week, we'll get into Inuvik and we'll finish everything off here.
Yeah.
We hope we're going to have lots of drum dancing.
Oh, yeah, there will be, yeah.
We're going to have lots of old time dancing too, because that's all part of our
is.
lifestyle.
It is.
And we're going to have, we hope to have a lot of country food.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
for
we're
sure.
looking to, we'll probably have somebody in Tuk, a couple of fish nets on the go and have fresh fish every day. Maybe maybe we'll have some belugas, you know, from the community, hunters going out at Kuluk. And we'll have everything ready we'll cook it all right there. And we'll do everything right there on that.
Yeah. In that baseball
in-
diamond? Or that baseball field?
Wherever we're going to go at Kuluk. Mostly in that ball diamond.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be in that
That's
And
it.
we're
The
hoping to have
community events happen there.
many places around the community to house our athletes that we want to bring in. We're looking at so many from each one of our communities, and we'll work from there and get ready for that, and then from there work on bringing them into Inuvik and finish off our northern games. Maybe the end of the week in Inuvik and.
So who's organizing this event then?
We do have a Northern Games Committee.
Yeah.
It consists of people from here, Tuk, and there might be a few other people from the other communities. But it's mainly from here in Nuvik and Tuk. We combine people and we work together
Yeah.
in organizing, just like any other
Any
times
other-
that we had the Northern Games. We had started on that in 2018. We were going to have the games then, that summer, but then the pandemic came along and
Just
everything
ruined everything.
ruined everything. So now we're all good to go, and we're all looking forward to that. Even our committee is excited about it. You know, we're just talking
I
about
think
it.
everyone is ready
Oh, yeah.
for these big events to
We
come
need
back.
to do something.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't done anything for a number of years now, especially with the COVID that
Yeah.
happened. And with our committee, I'm sitting as the chair of the
Yes.
Northern Games Committee. Billy Lenny is our vice chair. I think Lucy's our secretary treasurer. And, we have a lot of other ones that are helping out in the communities, and we're all working together to try to put this event on next summer.
Yeah.
And we do have Donald Kuptana Jr. He's involved with us. He joined us a few years back, and he's right into it. And, it's good that we have him there because he's doing all our paperwork and that for us. So, you know.
So you guys
But,
have like the dream team
Oh yeah,
to
we
just
do,
get
yeah.
this
Yeah.
organized.
We haven't dunked a basketball for a long time.
Yeah.
We still our Northern Game dream
Yeah.
team.
But going
And we
back
got Donald Captan as our executive director,
Yeah.
and doing a great job.
Yeah,
And we're all busy working at it, and there's still a lot of work to do.
yeah.
But you know, with the steady fundraising that we're working on right now, the big thing with our Northern Games today compared to what we used to do is back in the 60s and the 70s, we had the oil and gas companies here. We were able to use them whenever we really needed them
Yeah.
because they were very community oriented at the time to help us out. So we needed somebody to go to one of the communities. There's a Twin Otter that was sitting at the airport. If we needed somebody to go up there to pick up some more people or something, there was a Twin Otter at the airport. That's right. It
Yeah.
was back in the day. Today it's a lot different.
Yes.
Today we're very busy fundraising.
Yes.
It's a different kind of a picture,
Yeah.
but we're still working together to do the best we can next summer, especially for the youth.
Yeah.
And then we'll
big
get the elders
difference-
involved,
The big
too.
difference is we don't have the people that we used to have a long time ago. We got new people that are coming in, and they bring in some ideas that we never heard of or never done before. But we do have a very contingent of people who knows the games. Who's been with the games for a few years. You know, and,
Yeah.
they know what to do, they know how to organize, and it's something that we as elders encourage them to carry it on, to keep the traditional going so
Yeah.
that it doesn't die out or anything.
We had
What-
many games,
Mm-hmm.
many games.
have
So we
a
got
lot,
150, 160,
Oh my goodness.
somewhere in there that are
And a lot
the
of
games
our-
that we played
Yeah.
and that are
They're like
ancestors.
similar to what we do at jamborees, hey? Some
Yeah.
of them.
Some of them,
Some of
yeah.
them are similar.
Well,
We were
these
just talking about
games
that
that
when we were
are-
coming down.
These games, a lot of our games that the people in the past used to do, it doesn't take long, maybe a few seconds, a couple of minutes, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of our games are like that. It just take a few seconds to pull a finger or do.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
things
To
like
start a fire.
when we
Start a
when we
fire.
first
Yeah.
started that we had rope gymnastics.
Yeah, rope
Oh,
our,
wow.
our brothers from the east brought it up.
Oh
We
yeah.
did rope gymnastics.
Yeah, that
We
was
had
something.
harpoon throw and tokome. Remember tokome?
Yeah. Oh,
he used
yeah.
to come with his whip,
Yeah.
Wow.
and he used to come to Northern Games
You
and,
know, there was a young.
and
he
help
had-
us out and bang with his whip. He'd
He
perform.
had a
for
young
us.
partner with him, eh? A young
Yeah.
guy, young fellow, must have been a relative or something. He was an elderly guy he had a long whip that goes right across the room. And what he'd do, before he got young guy in, he'd put three pop cans. And he'd
Yeah.
take the middle one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd pick the middle one and he'd get it. And then, to make it even better, he'd get his younger partner there. He'd put a matchstick on his big toe. He'd take his sock off, put a matchstick on between his toes, and he'd whip that matchstick
Yeah.
without touching his toes or anything. That's how good he was. Yeah. And we had people
Boy,
like that were real good at the events.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that young kid boy had to really believe
Yeah,
in
he
him.
was like that. I remember seeing him like this. But you know, he trusted him. You know, that's why he went up there.
Yeah.
And some of the finesse games that we do, you know, like maybe the 1 foot high kick, the 2 foot high kick, the one arm reach, and so on. Those are some of the more finesse games. We do the blanket toss as well. But it's really interesting sometimes when you're sitting there and you're looking at somebody's going to maybe try for 7 feet in the 1 foot high kick. They got 3 attempts, right?
Yeah.
So you see them, they start from here. Sometimes they stand, they try, they get a little bit, you know, not quite there. You say, point your toe, you know. You watch them, and you try one more time, you know, you point your toe. You got to point that toe. And then you
Stretch
try
that
the
toe.
third time, and maybe they don't make it. Everybody claps, you know,
Claps,
because
yeah.
yes, and
That's
everybody
encouraging.
you shake their hands and you know, just encourage them to try a little harder the next time we do that event.
Yeah.
But you sit there and you watch in the crowd. You'll see somebody might be sitting over there really concentrating on what that person is doing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you look at that, you watch them over there while they're kicking right here. You watch them when they kick right here. That person over there, their foot goes like that.
Yeah, really
you
concentrating.
they really concentrate.
I know it gets
because
really
they want
quiet.
everybody. They're always want. You always want that one that's doing the competition to do the best that they can.
Yeah.
And it's all you do. It's all you do. And,
Yeah.
you know.
And the way that they're good at it is they got their own style.
Yeah.
Their own style of doing the games.
Yeah.
Their own kick. Like for instance, myself as a high kicker, I had my own style of approaching. And each and every one of the athletes are like that. They, you know, they got their own way. I know. I was watching this one competitor from Alaska. His style was speed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. He'd run right up to the target
Yeah.
and he's up there already.
Yeah.
Speed was his style of
Yeah.
doing the kicks and going higher.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the way he did it. You know, he could run. I know a lot of us, or most of us athletes, anyway, we never run that fast before. To see that.
Yeah.
Another one was we didn't. We were surprised to see in a 2-foot high kick a gymnast from Arctic, Quebec, when we went to Shepardville. Yeah, he was doing a 2-foot high kick, and he surprised the hell out of us, man. He went right up and he kicked the seal ball and flipped right around.
Oh,
Yeah,
did he land?
Yeah, he did. He landed correctly, but Edward didn't like it.
Oh.
I mean, not that he didn't like it, but it's his first time we've seen that.
Yeah, so he didn't call it.
No, that's not the way we do it.
Yeah.
But that was really something to see. We see athletes like that, you know. A lot of good athletes are around. Like, I was surprised at one time they were doing all kinds of games, and this one boy came up to us and he said he could do the toe walk. Holy, what's a toe walk? He got on his toes and
Oh my.
oh yeah, I'd say oh my too. That must have been sore.
I was in a Klavic a couple of weeks ago, and there was a boy there. He had just gone to Arctic Winter Games,
Yeah.
and he came in and another boy went, but this other boy was looking at him and he's like, this guy just went to Arctic Winter Games. And then that young boy, he was like, I wonder what it's like to do the seal hop. So he got on his hands and his feet and he started going like that. And I looked at him and I was like, I wonder, because it was just a question, if that's to mimic a seal and you're outside on the ice, do you wear mitts when you're doing that? Because I know we do it without mitts. You do it on your knuckles, and that's the challenging part. And I said, but do you do mitts? Do you use mitts out on the ice? And he's like, I'm going to try. And he tried, but he slipped. He lost control instantly, and he said that was way harder using mitts than trying just bare knuckles.
Everything is
slippery. He went like that.
Yes,
That's what happened to him.
Yeah.
He only tried once, and he didn't try.
And not only at our Arctic Winter Games now, we got international competition coming in. So a number of years ago, I was happened to be emceeing an event. I think it was Arctic Winter Games in Whitehorse, Yukon, and we had Providinia, or where else they come from in Siberia or Russia.
Oh, that was in Fairbanks. Yeah, when we were in Fairbanks.
We were in Whitehorse in this one.
Oh, this one, okay.
Yeah, and there was a young lady there doing the 1-foot high kick. So we're helping her, all of us, and whoever might have been around. We're helping her, encouraging her to, encouraging. So when we got finished the whole thing, the TV crew from Russia got a hold of me, and we went out and we interviewed. And they said, why do you in Canada promote our athlete up there? I said, why not? I said, we're here to do the best that they can, each and every one of them. Not only our own, but everybody that's here, everybody that's participating. We invite everybody to play our games. We don't bring you in to try to make fun of you, but we'll try to encourage you to do the best that you can. If you do a silly thing, well, as long as you laugh first, we might laugh.
Exactly,
Stuff like that, But Yeah, and they were they were questioning, why did we help them? Don't we want our
Yeah.
athlete over here to beat that young lady? No, that's not the point.
That's not the point.
No,
Yeah.
the point is the fun games that we play. You know, if you try and if you get it, well, good. We're still going to shake your hand. We're
Yeah.
still might give you a hug. Maybe not so much hug today because that darn COVID, still scaring the daylights out of
that's
people.
right.
Yeah.
As officials, we like to encourage the youth athletes. We encourage them to do better. We don't side anybody. We just encourage everybody that's involved to do their best they can. If they can't, well, it's we say, well, practice. You got to practice.
Yeah, and you do the best. And, we like to sort of finish off after every few days too.
Yeah.
We like to do the blanket toss.
Yeah.
And that's a real crowd pleaser. And that's great. I mean, it's the kids are there. Maybe we don't get, we get as many as we can on there because it's a lot of work to do the blanket toss, but good to get them up there and good way to sometimes to end the day.
Yeah.
We'll get them up. We did one in Tuck just ahead of Christmas. We did one down there.
Oh,
We
yeah.
put the little kids on there.
Yeah.
They let them sit down and cross their legs, sit there. We
Yeah.
just threw them up
Toss
maybe
them.
that high.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Not all the
throw
way
them,
up.
No, not all the way up. No.
I have a question. You said that long ago, what you would, I guess they were in the Arctic Winter Games, maybe, but you said that you would see people from Alaska and from the east.
Yep.
Is that something that you think that the Arctic Games will do one day? Is get more different Inuit from different locations?
They have, as far as I know, they have their own organizations east of us. So yeah, they have their own summer games.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they have their own summer games. And
Okay.
when we do our games here, I think this might have been one of the original starts
Yeah.
of our Eskimo
Oh, yeah.
games and
Yeah,
our
it
northern
was,
game
yeah.
was on this side.
Yeah.
So they all came here.
Yeah.
A lot of them came here.
And so now
all
they
our
have-
brothers and sisters over there, we still know each other from northern game. Best way to make friends, northern game.
It is.
And now they've gone home and they've started their own organizations.
Yeah.
And they're playing Kitikmeot games. They're playing games over in Nunavut.
I need to join some Facebook pages to see this because
I think
it's really
you might be able
interesting.
to find some on there, but once in a while you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just going back to Arctic Winter Games, when we got started on that, the competition that we had in Arctic Winter Games, it was very quiet at start, like for the first maybe 3 or 4 Arctic Winter Games, last day, we didn't have very many people. Our finals, most of our competition, the finals were mostly athletes that were there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and during the years it just sort of grew,
Yeah.
and now you go to the Arctic Winter Games, it's sort of like
It's
one of the main events.
Huge. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Like in the last day, we got the 1 foot high kick, the knuckle up, and that. People want to see that, so they just fill up the gym. Our gym is just packed now with
Yeah.
people
And
from
that's-
coming to watch our own games.
Yeah.
And that's a competition that we're having, and it's really
And our games
something,
are something that a lot of people enjoy watching
Yeah.
and enjoy watching our Northern Games athletes perform out there.
Yeah.
And they fill up the gymnasiums and it's good to see.
It takes a lot of
It's traditional
strength.
games, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's like the main event of the Arctic Winter Games, I'd say for sure, because we do. I noticed that in the last few Arctic Winter Games that I went to in the last couple of days, our gymnasium was just
Right
full.
full. Yeah.
Packed.
Unlike the times when we first started.
And now, because of the beauty of
Popularity of
Yeah.
Northern Games and
Yeah.
the traditional games,
yeah.
the gymnasiums are quite packed.
And now we have the beauty of technology
Oh yes.
where you can watch it live. Like,
Yeah.
do you know how nice it was that ICC, Inuvalut, or Inuit Community Corporation,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure their TV was on live streaming it a lot of the time. Like whenever I went into the building, I would see articles, and I know that in the schools, some of the teachers had it live streaming on the TV, so that way kids could watch it.
You can watch just about every one of those events. Well, you guys were down there. I kept following along.
We try anyhow way to promote our games. We like to bring it to the schools, to the youth especially, and any events that come up. I know Great Northern Arts Festival, they like to get our Northern Games people involved. So they get us to do some demos for them. And, any events that come into the community, they like to see our athletes doing these games here, because a lot of those people that come in to do some sort of other events, they've never seen these games before. They're really impressed in watching, and I'm sure when they get back home, they try to try these games.
I'm really excited for the events coming up this year.
We're excited too.
We're
really looking forward to trying to get everything together.
I keep trying to come up with ways with any of my work. How can I get to talk? How can I get time off work where we can go and be present in these games?
Come and join us.
How old are your children now?
9.
There, Guluk is teaching every second Tuesday and
Guluk
Thursday.
teaches my daughter.
Yeah, she's very good.
She could almost kick her height.
So
I noticed when she's doing the game, she calls me up. Look, I could do it. And she does it. She's very good at it.
She can kick. I'm so proud of her. She kicks right here to her height. She said, she knows she's so close. She's a toe.
And you watch those kids. You look at somebody like Underwood. A couple of years ago, Underwood was like a 15-year-old kid in Inuvik here, and a good friend of my grandson, Underwood. And one day my grandson comes up and says, "Dad, Underwood could take 6 feet." Oh wow, who is he anyway? He says, "Underwood." My friend. He was up there in Coopville. Wow, so you go up there, Underwood had a garbage can full of rocks and stick in the middle. And there he was.
And that's how he did it.
A piece of plywood, I think it went outside of his house. And he was practicing. Next thing, Underwood came to Arctic Winter Games that time. You guys brought him to as a junior or something, And Underwood is kicking over 9 feet now.
That's insane.
You teach those
It was a good timing for him too, because at that time we just got started doing the summits at the schools there, in the high school, and he was going to school at that time, and he was right up there with the heights, and he just bettered himself all the time.
Some of the early days of our Northern Games. I think one of the first ones that we had was when a fellow by the name of Mickey Gordon, God bless him, he's from here, but he hit 8 feet in that 1 foot high kick, and that was an incredible height. 1968, 1969, and coming out of Alaska was a fellow by the name of Joe Cusack, and they were competing together, those two. Mickey beat him right here by that much, and that was some of our first earliest competition. And we had the people from all the communities that were here. We had all the muskrat skinning and fish cutting, everything. We put everything together. Got the good man and the good woman. And that was what we did in them days. And we hopefully, when we get going again this summer, we'll have the same thing. We'll have good man and good woman again, because it doesn't, just because we're a good high kicker doesn't mean it didn't start without a mother somewhere. So, to bring you into this world,
And when they do their traditional games, they like to get an elder, an adult, and a youth. Like for instance, in the seal skinning, they have a team of 3, an elder, adult, and a youth. They work together in competing with like seal skinning.
And I think the early days of Northern Games too, we used to do tug of war. Huh?
Oh yeah, tug of war was a really big event
Yeah.
at that time.
We
Yeah.
used to put the men from Inuit against the men from Tuck or something.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
and the women
yeah.
too.
Yeah, women.
Oh,
we used to
oh.
compete against communities in
Yeah.
the tug
Yeah.
of war.
That was all.
That must have
it was
been
all
like
fun.
epic.
Oh, that
geez.
was all fun. I mean, that was
yeah.
fun and games, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
when we
And
cooked
by
that
the time
muktak,
we're all done, we're all tired out. Each and every one of us tired from pulling.
early
Yeah.
days of Northern Games, we used to finish old time dance at Sam's school
yeah.
at 7 o'clock in the morning. That was we played the games from yesterday, and right through to 7 o'clock in the morning.
Those were the
Sort of-
best days.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sort of shut everything down. Everybody went home.
Yeah.
Had an hour's enough to clean up to go to work at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Finish at 4 or 5.
And then right
Edward would
back.
phone us and get a hold of us shortly after 5.
Yeah.
And we'd go back down to Sam's, in front of Sam's there. You sleep an hour or two,
Yeah.
play games. By the time you start playing games, you're too lively to try to go and crash somewhere anyways. And you're playing every game that we could.
When we get late into the night, you know, like 3, 4 in the morning, it is quite late because some of our competition, like the 1-foot high kick, Alaskan high kick, and knuckle hop, those ones take a long time because everybody was involved with that.
Yeah.
Like each community, they had everybody trying. And we get right into midnight after 1 o'clock when we finally do the finals. And then after we're done, we get right into square dancing.
Square dancing and the drum dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we
That's why
usually
we
finish
always
off
have
with
a
a square
great
dance.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, one year we finished 7 o'clock, I think, 7:30, I think, went home. But it was, we still had 3 o'clock in the morning, we still had 16 over
Yeah.
jigging to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and 3 o'clock in the morning, so they were still sitting there.
I'm in my 30s,
Yeah.
and I remember in Tuck at the kiddie
Yeah.
hall, back when they used to have a payphone, you put a dime
Yeah.
in it,
Yeah.
or you hold the 0,
Yeah.
and you could talk and call
Yeah.
someone. But I remember I used to sleep on my mom's jacket at like 7, 8, 9 years
Yeah.
old, and then I was going
Yeah.
home at 5 in the morning because the square dance was finally dying.
Finally done.
Yeah.
And here we were waiting at 5 o'clock. We did 16 over.
Yeah.
The late Mary and Peter Kay out at Fort McPherson,
Yeah.
some of our beloved elders, were still there waiting at 5 o'clock in the morning to
Can
do
you
their jig.
imagine? Nowadays
know?
we're all going to bed at like 11. But can you imagine long ago
Yeah.
how, I mean,
Well, yeah, we've got to.
gotta pack everything into that short
24
amount of
hours
time?
sunlight that we had in July of them at that time was just so packed full of energy.
You could
Oh,
sleep
yeah.
in
You
December.
can sleep in December, yes. Basically,
Yeah.
You know, and we played our games. Anytime somebody called and said, we're going to do Northern Games somewhere, away we went. We did Northern Games, and we're ready to go again.
This year, I know what the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure I pull out some cash and I'm gonna get a hoodie. I always miss those hoodies.
Well,
If
we'll
you-
probably have a few of them out there somewhere.
Yeah, they're
yeah.
always nice with
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
person holding the drum, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the one? Yeah. I can't remember
That's
the
right,
logo.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
He's
and then
the person's holding the drum.
and that's our.
That's your
I think it's
logo?
our logo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
it
the
is.
logo, yeah.
We've
It's
had
back
that
here.
pretty well right from the
It
start.
is. Oh,
yeah.
it's
Huh?
this one's a harpoon.
Here, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, stand up, Kuru. Here,
Yeah, it's a harpoon. Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, it's not a drum.
What is it then?
It's a harpoon.
Harpoon?
Oh, the
Oh,
harpoon,
yeah,
yeah.
the harpoon.
Yeah.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's,
That's
you know,
our
that's
logo, yeah.
Yeah, and then we have all our prizes and so on, and it's got the logo of the Northern Games
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have some. We've had some really nice
Oh, geez, we had lots
material
of
over the
good
years.
designs over the years, yeah.
I had a really
Yeah.
deadly hat a couple of years ago. I don't know where it ever went to. I lost
I
it.
remember with our T-shirt uniform when we first got started, we had a picture of a high kicker on our T-shirt.
Yeah.
Our T-shirt.
Yeah.
Our logo for our community was someone doing not. We didn't pick anybody, but just a picture of someone doing the high kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our logo, and had our tech name on it. And each community had a different logo, like different.
For their communities, you know,
Yeah.
who come in and take part in the games.
But this time I'd really like to mention our father of the Northern Games, Edward. He brought us a long ways right from the beginning. He had these boys out in front of his house there, or inside his house, doing the games with the boys the local boys from here. And then once after they got started, he'd travel around, like he'd come to Tuck at one summer, and he'd showcase the games to us, and then he'd start growing and growing. And eventually it got so big, it's pretty much around the world. Like, for instance, he got started in a little living room from his place, and then just this March, March I think. Oh no, sorry, October. We went to Toronto. I went to Toronto with Hans and Billy, Lenny, Edward's son, when they inducted Edward into the Hall of Fame.
In the Sports Hall of Fame, yeah.
Wow,
Pretty
I
neat.
was thinking,
To have somebody, traditional games finally recognized. I mean, they do every other sport in this North America is recognized except traditional games.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time that they've done that.
It is.
I was just thinking, when they first got started, it was in a little place, and when I was down in Toronto in a building there, and wow, look at this, we're into the big building now.
Yes.
And it's and it's all the work of Edward Lenny, who got inducted to the Hall of Fame amongst other super athletes that were there. That's really something that
Some of those Olympians, and some of them builders for different maybe other sports. They're all they're all inducted into the hall. But with all the work that has been done over the years in regards to our Eskimo games, our Northern games that we call them, we've made it to the Canada Winter Games. We went to the Canada Winter Games in 2007 in Whitehorse, Yukon. We brought traditional Inuit Northern Arctic sports to the Canada Games. And then in 2010, a number of them went down to the Olympics in Vancouver, one more time demonstrating. And not only them, but their drum dancers too,
I
from
brought some
all our
athletes
different regions.
I brought some athletes to Victoria one summer, 3 of them, just to showcase our games, and that was a Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth Games,
yeah. They had the Commonwealth Games in Victoria, BC, and they invited us in there to showcase our games.
Yeah. We went to, we did Northern Games at Canada Winter Games 1975, just outside of Lethbridge, Alberta.
Lethbridge,
Yeah, and then we did Northern Games again, 1980, I think it was 1985 in St. John, New Brunswick, Summer Games. We brought Northern Games as a demonstration to there. And who went around the world? Somebody went around the world, huh? Somebody did Northern Games in Asia or something?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I don't remember now who it might have been, but our games have gone international.
Yeah.
I mean, we do international anyways now but our Northern Games that were our Inuit games, our Eskimo games, and Northern games we had from here, they went national.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Started from right outside Edward's house.
started right outside Edward's house. We used to play those
just down
games
the
every
road.
night. All of us,
Yeah.
me, Buck, and William, and Tommy, and Roy, and Glenn, and Patty, and all those guys, we used to play outside. And we used to sit inside the house and play games all night. I don't know how many loaves of Auntie Jeannie's bread made.
That must have been the best part.
Disappeared overnight. But all the wood in the winter got cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played
And
games.
Yeah, the same thing happened too back home. After Edward and the boys left, we started doing the games back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started competing. I remember a few nights and we would gather up in community hall, that old community hall,
Yeah.
and we'd do these games here that once Edward had shown us. And
Yeah.
it was fun. We had fun. We had no prizes or anything, just
No, we just
competing, but you know.
for the
just-
fun of our
yeah.
games, and for it's all part of our tradition. It's something that it's been instilled into us, that this is something that you play and
Yeah.
this is something that you do. Because the early stories, a lot of the games were played down there in the igloos.
Yeah.
When the days got long and the nights got long, they played mostly down there. I think a lot of times at the mouth of the East Channel, down in the Mackenzie area, because it was something to do. They not only played the game, they hung you. They
Yeah.
had lots of drum dancing.
And these games were played in a little tight area, like in an igloo or something. But
Yeah,
nowadays we've got the big gymnasium.
Yeah.
We've got the whole gymnasium to use.
we're throwing them right up to the ceiling in the
Yeah.
in the blanket hall.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to thank you both. Our time is up for the 1 hour.
Time
Yeah.
is up already?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
You want to hear some more stories? Or you can always come back.
We can, yes,
Yeah,
I
we can always come
I
back,
can
yes.
definitely schedule
Sure.
you back, yes.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you both for coming in on the
Okay.
show, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Do Not Annick show, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much for inviting us.
Yeah.
ऊᕙᒍৎ.
Thank you.
Ing mamana